I'm going to turn my volume up right about there. And I'm going to turn y'all's volume up.
Wah.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Oh, I need to stop screen sharing real quick. Welcome, everyone, to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And welcome back to our Around the Hearth. Now, you travelers have been here, hopefully been here, seeing us work on the this kingdom that we've been working on and building as an example of micro-worldbuilding. And it should go pretty good, hopefully. We're missing Tommy, unfortunately. So we'll see how it goes. His input was used last time, so it's still a collaborative effort. Before we jump into it, let's talk about announcements. Less than 5 minutes, always. You can time me. Here we go. The Inn of Planar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming both have Patreons going, so if you want to support this type of content, you can do so at those places. Just look up Inn of Planar Crossroads, the Inn of Planar Crossroads, or Black Dragon Gaming, and look for the symbol that you see on your screen, the BDG symbol, and you will find Black Dragon Gaming there as well as us. Now, as far as the 400 one-shot, from the feedback that I'm getting, we're still going to be able to do it, and we should be able to do it sooner rather than later, Lord willing. And I don't have any more announcements, really. You can let us know if you like this type of content in the comments below. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're not talking about comments. We're not talking about anything like that, unless you want to leave us some on how to build this. Right now, we're going to talk about... Let me get a screen share going. We're going to talk about the kingdom here. Now, this is what we've got so far. We've got the main capital down here. What we decided as... I don't know if we're going to go with the whole... This is an outcast colony type setup where this is where all the deadbeats and criminals were exiled to, and it eventually became Fantasy Australia in the north. I don't know. We haven't decided on that just yet, I don't think. But we were tossing it around. And we built a couple cities right in here. We put some mountains right there for people. Got some lakes, which is where we started. And we decided that this was in boreal type forest area with lots of evergreens and stuff like that. So, where do we want to start, people?
Well, we talked about the cities, talking about cities more earlier today and earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
We could start with that. With that?
We were start with that. We could. If we want to do that, I have a different document open, and we can put it in a text document. That's sometimes easier if you guys want to look at it that way. But we can name them first if you'd like. It's the names, you know.
Bill, Ted, John, and Rebecca.
Bill, Ted, John, and Rebecca. Don't tempt me, man. I will do it straight up. I will do it so hard that you'd have to... I'll do it so hard you'd have to call the sexy wizard.
Oh.
Oh. All right. I don't know. I like to do names after everything. I don't usually put towns in as early as Tommy and you guys like to put towns in, apparently. But, if we're going with this, are we going to go with this as kind of like an outcast colony type setup? Are we going to run with that idea?
Outcast colony type setup?
Mm-hmm. Like an Australia type setup. This is where they sent the people for exile and stuff like that. Like, this is where the criminals. This is where the criminals went when they didn't want to house them, but they didn't have anything else to do with them.
I mean, I don't remember us saying that. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
Man,
yeah, I'm fine with it.
I don't trust your memory as far as I can throw your memory. Dagnabbit, I remember things that we did that you say we didn't do. Fiasco. It happened. I am not imagining that.
I don't know if that's true.
I am not imagining
I think
that.
fiasco might have been a fiasco. I think that might have been a very vivid dream.
No, I didn't have a 3 or 4 hour dream. It happened. Joel was there. He was playing too. All right. Enough arguing about that. So, if we do, it can have, there can be a whole variety of different naming schemes. This is fairly north. If we keep with the northern idea, you could go with, I suppose you could go with pretty much any name you wanted to, depending on where you wanted to say these exiles were from.
Uh-huh.
So, are we thinking that we're going to mix up some different languages, or are we wanting to go mainly European, or some other type of naming scheme? How's it feeling? In this particular northern exposure.
It's just.
Dang it!
Right, I have to save something so I can get out of here. I'm trapped. Trapped.
I can't see. There we go. I don't know. Now that I said that northern exposure thing, I'm tempted to just look up that old show from the 90s, Northern Exposure, and start naming the towns after people in it.
I mean, stealing names is real helpful, especially if you pick a place to steal from your players won't expect.
Yeah, so like any television that Adam watched is pretty much fair game.
Well, I don't know. I guess this is at the edge of civilization. We could call this city Edgeguard. That's an option.
I mean, it also would depend on who lived there and founded the town, because like a dwarven town is going to have probably a dwarven name.
True. So these cities up in here this one especially would probably have either a dwarven or a Durgar styled name. And as you get farther away, you usually, in most fantasy, start to get less dwarven influence and more, usually human, depending. Get up here in these may have more of a elvish feel, so close to the woods.
Mm-hmm.
But that's classical fantasy. So, let me see.
Well, if the towns up in the woods that have had clear cut around them, they're probably not elvish, or at least not traditional elvish towns.
That is also a possibility.
Although it'd be a real bitch to try and make a house in a coniferous tree.
Yeah, they're not very friendly. They're itchy. All the time itchy.
But if you have tough skin, maybe you just don't notice the itch.
Maybe elves are made of rubber.
Well, but I'm just, like, I know something that I enjoy for making a world feel a bit unique is taking pre-existing races and then, like, giving them, like, locational changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, taking away something else from elves and giving them, like, +1 natural armor as their body has just gotten used to it.
Mm-hmm.
We could play with that. We can actually play with that idea.
But
No, I like doing that. I like playing around too. We do there's a lot of, if you're wanting to learn how to build traditional fantasy, there's a lot of places to build traditional fantasy. But maybe we can play with this a little bit.
I'm also notoriously bad at names. When I'm naming characters, I usually pull from like old Roman, Greek, or European names. And then failing that, when I'm naming things, I will either throw syllables at it until I find something that sounds correct, or I will just horribly mispronounce an existing word.
Yeah. Those are also options. Like, for example, like this dwarven town here, it can be named anything that sounds dwarven, because dwarven is not a real language. You can say, this is Hardreth Con, or Morgren Orgendirin.
Or
just
Ildenhjon.
Ildenhjon. All those things that sound that way.
Which is definitely not me just butchering Elton John.
Ildenhjon. We could do that. Oh, okay. Here, hold on. We can do this. We gotta do this now. We gotta get it.
Oh dear.
What color do we want to use though? We'll use red for names. Ildenhjon. Is that right? Is that how you're thinking, or should we go with an I?
No, the E works. And it would look less like you have two eyes next to each other.
Well, I solved that with fonts. I really dislike fonts that don't differentiate the I's and the L's. Pet peeves, people. Pet peeves. Everybody's got to have them. All right, so that's Ildenhjon. I'll go. Maybe that. No, that's not good. But Ildenhjon, we'll just stick it right there. We'll leave that font. We'll leave that font at about a 12. And then we'll come up here. So this is Ildenhjon. That gives us kind of a naming idea of how Dwarvish sounds in this setting. But if we come up here, we can say a lot of influence by the elves in this area, maybe.
I got nothing for elves.
So let me get red again. I want to put it over here so that people can see it easier. So we got red. And Ildenhjon, if you're going with something where your elves are really different from your dwarves, then you would go something with a lot lighter, a lot more airy than Hon. Those are heavy sounding words.
Ilya.
What is that?
Ilya. Ilya.
So. Ilya, and a lot of the time it would more nature-based, civilizations that are closer to nature, more tribal. There it is, more tribal named things. Tribal-based societies usually have one word for things. That's just how it works. There's no need to. If you don't have a dictionary, then you usually don't complicate your language system with a bunch of superfluous words. So, are these elves closer to nature and less civilized, like the elves I have in the Forded, or are they more civilized, like the elves that exist in the Anulami Empire in my setting, or more like Tolkien elves, which have a kind of mix between it's not a simple language, but it is a language that stems from one that is simple. So,
well, I've never liked Tolkien, so I'm gonna vote against Tolkien.
You never liked any Tolkien?
Well, it's not like I dislike The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I dislike what he did with everything that wasn't humans.
Well, the time of the elf was over. Because the time of man had come. All right. So that's Ilya. And so, if we want to differentiate Ilya, which has a lighter tone, and Ildenhjon, which has that, more hard H and a hard sound, Ilya and Ildenhjon, a different sound for... The assumption would be humans, but perhaps there are no humans, no pureblood humans in this. Who knows? This is probably a real mixed bag of individuals if we've got this being a colony that was established as a prison colony type of setup. So it's probably a bit more alliterative if you have... You don't name prisons fancy things usually.
Well, yeah, and it's probably also called like Fort something or something hold. Like it didn't start out as a city. It started out as a facility.
Yeah, there we go. Eddard's hold. He slung one too many rocks at the people. Or no, that's your archer from way back.
That's Jedediah. It was not Eddard.
Eddard's hold. There we go.
Eddard was his brother.
I wasn't that far off then. All right, so we've got that. We've got Eddard's hold, Eldon Hon, and Ilya. That might need another L. Maybe not.
Ilya.
Maybe an apostrophe would satisfy my brain. Ilya.
Does the apostrophe make it more elven?
It separates... It makes me not think Alya or Ilya. I don't know. The word ill is spelled I-L-L, and my brain wants to make it that. I don't know. I'll leave it alone. I'll put it back.
I mean,
I think the apostrophe makes it more elven.
Well, we'll leave it in. Just that can help structurally differentiate your sentences as well.
I mean, is he really even an elf if he doesn't have at least 2 apostrophes in his name?
So, I believe we're going with more wild-styled elves. So we've got Ilya. And if that's the way you do it, you can come in with words that sound a bit more like we said, tribal or native. So you got Ilya.
And I think we were also kind of establishing that the elven language was much more breathy.
So keeping with that breathy idea, whoop. Bring that down to 12. And something along the lines of Haweda. Haweda, there we go. Because words don't have to make sense if they're in a fantasy language.
I mean, you're not contending with a real language.
just real convenient.
Just real convenience.
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to go full on fantasy, I could be like, well, that's Ekwarda, that's Num Odo, that's Akana Ado. So, I mean, you could do a bunch of different things. But if you want to keep your naming schemes the same, which does speak to the verisimilitude of your setting, kind of keeping a general idea on what names you use would be a good idea. So we've got Hoeda Ilya, Eldon Hon, and Eddard's Hold. So we established before there's a lot of trade coming in between Eddard's Hold and Eldon Hon, where the dwarves do a lot of the mining. Now that doesn't necessarily mean there's no mining here, but it does mean that the influence of this dwarven language may seep this way, as this not necessarily human but Middle European style words would seep this way. So you can start to play with it.
There's probably also a fair number of towns along the road here? Because we've established this long road, and if that's all a trade route, there are likely, maybe not big cities, but like there's going to be settlements along this road too that don't necessarily need to be named on your map because they're going to be small.
Just like little farming communities.
Mm-hmm. Things that would benefit from having access to like open plains because it's not as easy to farm in the foothills.
Yeah. And if they follow how people, not necessarily just humans, but people would name something, a settlement 4 miles out from Eddard's Hold might just be called 4 Mile. So that is something that does happen.
Yeah.
It's true. People get lazy with names. That's why there's a Paris in Texas.
Yeah. There's a Paris, Texas. There's a Paris, Arkansas. There's a Paris anywhere, I guess.
There's a Hell, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the midpoint, having like a little like place with inn and whatnot that's specifically designed as like a bunker to like chill out in if the weather's not as great.
I was actually just going to suggest that. That especially with how dangerous the surrounding wilderness is supposed to be, maybe there's like somewhere along the half-plate there's a more fortified settlement. If something comes up from the south and they're forced to the smart farming communities have to take refuge somewhere.
So like a little bitty one. Little bitty fort. Little baby fort.
Yeah.
Little bitty baby. Little bitty boot.
Little bitty baby whoop.
Maybe literally just Midgard.
That's real dumb and I want you to do it.
Where's the roads, land? There it is. Cities.
You're much better at remembering layers than I am. I already would have like drawn crap on the wrong layer and had to go back and erase it.
Well, I'm not saying that I haven't done that, but I will say that I try not to. So we got that, and we'll put like another little bitty thing with it. Ooh, that's really small.
It's
Can't even
very
take that
tiny.
nice. That's a very tiny little cathedral. Where'd my house go?
Just another note about map making. A lot of the time, older maps, so this is really like a personal thing, a lot of the time older maps were fairly inaccurate, and they didn't necessarily draw things to scale at the time. It would really depend on the talent of the cartographer. So if you want to label things bigger and be like, hey, this city isn't actually like the size of New York, it's just the cartographer's got really sloppy handwriting.
And we're gonna go full on cheese with this one. I think we decided. And we're not just gonna call it Midgard. We're gonna call it Fort Midgard. Just because. Just redundancy, because it has to have something going for it.
Fort Midgard. Ooh.
Fort Midgard. Whoop, 12.
Fort Guardhold.
Fort. Okay, hold on.
Guardhold Barracks. Fort Guardhold Barracks.
Ugh.
Fort. Okay, whoops. Guard hold. Am I spelling barracks right? Hold on.
2 R's.
Barracks.
There we go. Fort Guard hold barracks. Okay, how far do we want to do this? Because we could go crazy. We could go Fort Guard hold barracks and training Wait. No, that's not right. And training ground.
Training gourds.
Training gourd training. They train killer gourds. No, that seems silly.
Although legit out towards the more dangerous area does seem like nice guard training.
Are you talking about it's nice to have guard training, or that it's nice to have gourds training?
That it's a nice area to train guards.
Ah.
It's arguably a nice area to train gourds as well, but they usually go up the trellis by themselves. So.
I mean, you know, your gourds would last longer. They freeze.
Yeah, pumpkins grow fairly well in the cold.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
they'd last longer here than somewhere warmer. So, you know.
I don't think I spelled guard right. There. Is that right?
Yeah, that looks correct.
I'm second guessing myself. Which is great to do on stream.
Ah.
Alright. So, there's Eddard's Hold, and about halfway-ish, before we get to the first trade town, full-on trade town, is Fort Guardhold Barracks and Training Ground. Because...
Sounds like a corporation.
Yeah. The guard...
I honestly think people would just call it the fort.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah. That's what we do that in here, and the town is named Fort Smith. So if we do it with Fort Smith, they're just going to call it the fort, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So this little town has some interesting. Geography around it. It's right there in the foothills. So it's likely it has a name related to that. A lot of towns do, when naturally named.
Foothold.
Yeah, foothold is enough.
Yeah, I think maybe all three of these towns here in the sort of nestled in the mountains have mines in them.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the other two towns, the mines aren't quite as big, but I think they all have mines in them.
That would be a product that would be very common in that area, based upon its location. So there's Foothold, and this one might be... this one is likely, if we're following the trend of European language moving this way and Dwarven language moving this way, this one is probably a translation into English of a Dwarven name or something like that, like Helm Splitter or something like that. You know, a Dwarven name, but in English. So, Here we go.
I have an idea, but I don't think it would fit the setting.
What was the set? What was the thing?
Basically, it would translate into the King's Boot. Because it lies at the foot of the mountain range.
Yeah. It'd be you got foot. So wait a minute. So we got Foothold, and then the King's Boot, and then Elden Hon. So like these are two legs with boots on it.
Yeah.
And then this is a mountain right here, and there's the head.
He's all torso.
Yeah. There you go. So if that's Foothold, this could be... Oh, let me see. Shin Kicker, I don't know.
Shin Kicker.
Named after Broden Shin Kicker, famous for getting his family name established by kicking the shins of the taller orcs so that their heads would come down to meet his axe.
This famous giant slayer, Broden Shinkicker.
That's right. He came right up to those giants, all those hill giants, and even a few stone ones, and he just ran right up to them. And what he did is he would get his steel-toed boots with he made them himself, steel-toed boots with blades on the front, and so he just whack them, kick them right there in the shins, right there. And he got so good at it, and he trained his kids so well at it, they could break their bones. He got nasty. There at the end.
Dwarf running up on a hill giant like
like an angry toddler. Angry bearded toddler kicking you in the shins.
There's a picture of the hill giant going
Okay. We've established that's gotta there. That's just
shin kicky.
Shin kicky.
Yeah, the R got cut out.
Shin kicker. All right, that's too good to not use. I don't know. Should it be one word?
Yeah, it's a place name. It might as well.
Unless,
oh, you know what does happen to town names over time? They get slurred and shortened. Like when you deleted that K, I could see Shin Kicker eventually be turning into Shiniker.
Shiniker, yes, Shiniker. That's where it came from, and they couldn't say it right. They couldn't translate it just right, so that's what they thought the dwarves were saying was Shiniker. This is Shiniker. This is Shiniker. No, Shin Kicker. No, it's stupid humans.
I can't even speak Dwarvish right.
That sounds like something a dwarf would say.
Yeah.
These people who never spoke our language can't even talk it right.
How very English of you.
All right, Shiniker. Foothold. So we got Eldenhon, Shiniker. Eldenhon leads to Shiniker, which leads to Foothold, which leads to Fort, Guard, Hold, Barracks, and Training Ground, and Eddard's Hold.
Fort Guard, Hold, Barracks, and Training Grounds. That's the most human-sounding shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. Right? Well, it could be human. It's probably human. Or it could be halflings.
Maybe. I can't picture halflings running a military facility, though.
Isn't that great, though? Wouldn't it be hilarious? They've got that this place isn't getting messed up by getting invaded, quote quote, by humans, but rather by halflings. They want their own country. Halflings that want
the Eddard's Hold is a halfling prison colony?
Yes, it's a halfling prison colony for all the pickpockets that kept getting caught. And they were like, fine, it's ours now. And they picked the locks and kicked all the longshanks out.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah,
In a campaign I was in, we had a sect of halfling ninjas.
I don't know that
that was a good time.
I don't know if halfling ninjas would fit into this particular setting.
Oh yeah, no. They're
just stealthy boys. They don't have to be ninjas per se. They're just stealthy boys.
Yeah. Well, but they were like ninjas / paladins because the idea of
ninja paladins.
Exact stuff. Yeah.
Ninja din. What are you doing with ninja din?
Running the pruning, a thing that's whole goal was to keep lawful authority, but to remove people who were abusing their power.
Paladinja. Nope, Ninja Dins is better.
Ninja Dins rolls off the tongue better. Alright. So we've got these, and it seems like these towns up here are pretty isolated. We've got two elven kind of establishments where these halflings have come all the way up here and interacted with the elves, and they've kind of been like, okay, we can work together. It's all right. all my halflings are Brooklyn, so it's all right. We can work together.
Despite, like, regardless of where they live.
Yeah, regardless of where they live, it's like my gnomes. All my gnomes are, of course, going to be, what was it? Of course, dear. Of course. It's a little bit higher.
I mean,
There it is. There we are. All my gnomes talk like this because it's just the best thing to talk about gnomes with with a voice like this. I'm going to kill you. It's okay.
Hugna didn't have a Minnesotan accent. He sounded like Droopy Hound.
Who?
Uba?
The good doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can vary it up. You just keep the. There you go. It's still the same kind of sir.
Watch your steps, sir.
Yeah. So, what do we think lives up here in this village? Because it's always nice to have a third type of race to float around.
Well, we're sitting on humans, elves, and dwarves. So
we're sitting on halflings, elves, and dwarves. Yeah. I'm still advocating for that whole halfling thing. I think that'd be funny. But fine, we can say humans because that usually includes halflings.
Small races are awful.
Not if everybody else is small. And that's only in first edition. There's no size penalties in second edition.
That's true.
Not that I advocate for second edition necessarily, but anyway, this town.
What do we want for a fourth race? Throw in
really
something...
off the wall would be Trox.
Trox?
Oh.
Ooh, maybe the Trox work with the dwarves, though, really heavily in these. They burrow together, they burrow for them and stuff. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would Trox live really far north, though? Because this is the top of this map, so if the bottom of this map is already, like far enough north that the as of yet unnamed, undescribed danger to the south won't normally come this far north, that village up there is 200 miles north of that.
Yeah. Oh, I already know what we should call it, though.
What do you got?
Frozen Hell.
Far gone.
Far gone.
Too far gone.
They're far gone.
And that may just be. Oh, it would be like it would be neat if this was like a abandoned village instead. More like a landmark rather than a place to go. Oops. Kind of similar to the tree. It's called Far. That's not its original name. It's called Far Gone because when you've gone that far, it's too far gone. And
actually, I kind of like the idea of that. Like, once you go that far north, you're closer to something else than you are to going back, or like you've hit a point of no return. You either have to figure out how to live here because you won't survive the trip back.
Yeah, I mean, like once winter hits, you're too far gone for anybody to reach you, type thing. And that whole if you wanted to do like an isolation setup, you'd have them come in, and then a freak winter storm would come in and lock them in. You'd have like
that'd be cool if you I don't know, if something changed and the threat to the south began just pushing farther and farther north, and one of your only option for retreat is to go to Haweda, Ilia, or to try and make a viable settlement out of Fargon. Yeah. Because you wouldn't want to start a new settlement because you don't have time before winter comes around.
Oh, yeah. So I like that. We've got these all named. We got Fargon up there. And it'd be really neat if there was... we can put it on here. I've got a brush. For that. Brush.
I think
different brush.
If we want another one and we don't have any other specific places we want to put things, we could have some aquatic race, because those don't get remembered as often.
Yeah, well, we could just have something living in one of these inlets. This is the bottom of a Great Lake, right?
Right
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking in this more central run rather than. Although, I mean, like, the corner one could also work pretty nicely.
Yeah, the corner one right here, like this area right here, might be more controlled by the southern threat.
Yeah.
So Shinneker is actually kind of important because it helps defend against that. It's one of the first ones that they come to.
Mm-hmm.
So Shinneker and all this down in here are kind of really well defended. These three. And they defend
Oh, I
against...
just realized that we've just opened up our campaign for not an adventuring academy, but like a guardsman academy.
Da da da!
Yeah, actually.
Guardsman?
There you go. Your word. It's everyone, all the fucking Ruby fanboys. There you go. We've done it.
Guardsman Academy?
Yeah, because there's a lot of good places for it. Start off at the fort,
Yep.
working at Ertold for a bit, and then when it gets warmer time towards your summer, you work in Shinneker.
You work in the mines.
No, you work in this is where the southern threat hits first.
Yeah.
They come for Shinneker first. See, they can't go over the mountains. And to go this far north is too cold for them. So they have to come in down low here. And they've learned their lesson about trying to go into Eldon Hahn first, because that's a bad idea.
No, it's a dwarven hold, and it's probably full of bullets.
Yep. So Shinneker is the next best bet, because like attacking the fort straight off is not good for a campaign. You need a place to stage from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably pretty funny. They probably gain Shinneker, and then once winter hits, once it starts to get late fall, they all leave, and then everybody goes back to Shinneker, and then they work, and then they leave Shinneker if they get too overrun, and then maybe in the past 25 years they've pushed to Foothold once, and then had to retreat back because they got there by wintertime.
Yeah, they had to retreat from the cold. There's probably like a fairly low occupancy rate in parts of Foothold and Eldon Hahn, just to allow for people to constantly be moving back and forth between Shinneker and there.
Yeah. Oh, it'd also make a really good, like, if you wanted to have a trader party, like people working the trade lines.
Mm-hmm.
Them running those emergency runs in between Eldon Hahn, those high pressure runs between Eldon Hahn and Eddard's Hold, and having to hit each one. Oh, it's like you goes full on Smokey and the Bandit with it. It'd be, but all the bears are, all the police are giants or whatever the southern threat is, and you got to avoid them all to get past. That's another idea for a campaign right there. So, there we go. So we've got all of this done. Let me see how much time we got. Okay, we're at 45 minutes. So, I think that's a good place to stage run for our next Around the Hearth. What do you guys think? Anything specific? We do want to put in some... We can do that next time. We can start talking about some aquatic races, how they influence the stuff, how they interact in the cold. Like cold water mermaids are not something you see a lot, or cold water.
Yeah, but like a lot of aquatic species, like fish, like they're have blood like antifreeze.
That is fair. All right, so I'm gonna stop screen sharing real quick. There we go.
Oh, we didn't talk about city design.
No, we didn't. But at least we got stuff named. We got our stuff named, and we can work on city design for those, as well as how those races are going to start interacting with how big of a influence the different races, both the underwater and the above ground races, are going to be working in those cities. So that sounds like a plan to me. What do you guys think?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that. We'll see if we can get Tommy to join us next week.
Yeah, Tommy. Yeah. All right.
I'm sure he's either busy editing or he's just preoccupied.
He's too good for us. All right.
There's a big famous boy now.
I'm so proud. Tear. All right. As always, travelers, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. This content was made possible by the generous support of patrons and travelers like you. Thank you.